Today we found out that Ikram Aliskerov is a chinny fraud, and for once in MMA, we get a legend, a veteran of the sport, to get a shining moment against an up-and-coming prospect. UFC Saudi Arabia just got done. We got 11 fights to go through. We're going to go ahead and recap every single one of those fights, starting with the first fight of the night, ending with the main event. But before we get into that, let's check out how we did from the results on this card. UFC Saudi Arabia official picks went 7-4. Okay, we hit a couple to start off. We hit a rough patch. We went with a couple dogs. We went with Kang as a dog. We went with Dalby as a dog. Neither of those guys got it. Dalby nearly got it, though. Dalby, that was such a close fight. I wish he would have won. Naimov, that was a very unconfident pick, but I really, I'll have a lot more to say about Naimov. Let's just keep that real clear. Naimov is on the shit list right now, for sure. Nasrat, Volkan, Shara. We went with Kelvin Gastelum, but it wasn't a very confident one. Still won. And we went with Pavlovich. That was not a confident one at all. I actually ended up betting on Volkov just because the betting odds were just crazy, because Volkov was a big underdog. I picked Pavlovich, but I ended up betting on Volkov. It's still a loss for the official picks. And then for the official pick, I went with Whittaker. But, it wasn't a confident one. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, yo, I told you so. Robert Whittaker, I picked him. No, that wasn't me. Okay? That wasn't me. But I did pick him. We're sitting at 30-18 in the, 4 weeks I think we've been doing this. 63% accuracy. So we're not amazing. We're not insane. But we're doing pretty decent. The best bets was pretty much a wash. We lost 0.08 units. We won the money line play on Nasrat, which was pretty dicey. We won the parlay at plus 132 odds. We lost the over 2.5 thanks to Naimov. And we lost more than just that on Mohamed Naimov, which we will get to. And then we did not hit the Kang sub. Opportunities were there. Plus 650, I'm not too upset about that. But yeah, slight loss there. Still sitting at a slight loss on the series. The betting recap. So Home of Fight Picks, premium membership. We did profit 2.7 units. We hit some money lines right there. Little Oezdemir money line. That was free. Volkov money line, as I alluded to. Parlay hit. And then we hit a nice little prop on the decision bet for Magomed Gadzhiyasulov, plus 850. And we hit the over 1.5 in that fight, too, at plus 170. If a guy is named Magomed and he's doesn't really have big power, just take the overs. Take him by decision, because if he gets in any type of trouble, he's going to go to his wrestling. He's just going to lay and pray. That's what he did. The moneymakers right here, the DFS. I hope you tailed the DFS plays this week, because we've been crushing it throughout the last 3 weeks, and we continued today. We went 2-1 on both underdog and better for a, $300 profit on each, so that's $600 in profit if you're putting $100 on each of these plays. So 2-1 on underdog, bang, and 2-1 on better. And we nearly went absolutely berserk on the underdog and better apps, okay? We hit this 5-legger last week for 2,000. We nearly hit it. But Mohamed Naimov got choked out by a short rear naked choke. Now, that was 12.5 minutes of fight time on underdog. But then we look at better picks, where we were going to turn $50 into $10,000, and we missed it by 15 seconds. Mohamed Naimov couldn't survive for 15 more seconds, and we miss out on $10,000. This sucks. This one really hurts, and if you tailed, I'm sure you're hurting with me, but I feel like we almost had that big one. We really almost had that big one. But all we can do now is continue to move forward and continue to place the right plays, and we will hit the big one. But this one would have been sweet, man. this one would have been sweet. 15 seconds away from $10,000. Muhammad Naimov. Fucker. Let's get into the recap. First fight of the night, regional bum show. These guys suck. There's no way that they should be in the UFC. Neither guy is ever going to be anything in the UFC. I mean, Chang Ho Lee, I guess, gets the contract to be in the UFC. This guy's he's not that good. This fight pretty much took place in the clinch for like 75% of the fight. Just grabbing each other in the clinch, kind of chain wrestling here and there, throwing knees in the clinch. Chang Ho Lee literally won this fight by throwing knees in the clinch. That's all he did. That's how he won the fight, was getting back to his feet, being in the clinch, and throwing knees in the clinch. Because neither guy did much on the feet other than throw some wild punches and occasionally land. I think that first round, when I think it was a headbutt, where Zhao Long had a cut, that screwed him. That completely screwed him. Because that was really the only damage that was visible in that round. And I haven't seen the scorecards because I don't really care too much about this fight. But yeah, tough one for him. Long Zhao, put your hand down. You lost. You won, but you're probably going to be a loser in the UFC. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe these guys are just good and they could stalemate each other. But honestly, I thought the fight was shit and it looked like a regional bum show. Let's move on to more trash cans. This was a really bad fight. I mean, I know I cashed pretty heavily on this with the plus 850 on Gadzhiyasulov by decision, but I wanted it to be boring, so I was kind of happy about it. Same time, it was a trash fight. Both of these guys, I think, are straight trash cans. Now, the light heavyweight division is not very deep, so maybe they're better because they're not, at the way bottom like a Jose Medina type of UFC light heavyweight, but they're not good. And they're not good because Brandon Ribeiro, all he has is wild power, and Gadzhiyasulov has no power and no durability. I mean, he got hit with like 3 leg kicks. I mean, look at this. Ribeiro had a total of 7 leg kicks. And Gadzhiyasulov was pretty much like he couldn't walk. So he had to resort to the takedowns and the control time. And when he was on top of him, yeah, he'd throw a couple pitter-patters, a couple elbows down on him, but he wasn't really doing much. He wasn't really looking for subs. Ribeiro did go for that guillotine that almost looked like it was locked in. I think it was round 2. Good on him for trying it, but then he couldn't get off his back, and Gadzhiyasulov just laid and prayed to the decision. And, if you're Magomed, you're undefeated. I don't really think this guy's that good. I don't. I thought he would do enough to get a win against Ribeiro, who's not good either, who's not durable. He doesn't have a great all-around game, just throws wild power. But Gadzhiyasulov barely beat him. Barely. Not a good look. Both trash cans. Let's move on. Moon Gafurov, man, you got to wax that motherfucking back, bro. You got to wax that shit. Somebody's got to help you out. Because I got a feeling that my boy Kyung Ho Kang here, he knew he might have a nice little grappling edge, an ability to throw in a rear naked choke. But this dude did not want to get on top of that back. Okay, he did not want to be chest to hairy back with you. And I'm kind of pissed because if you're rocking that big patch back there, and that's what's causing your opponent to not really want to grapple with you, then we got some problem. Maybe it's a cheat code, whatever. Kang didn't look good. He was getting taken down. Well, actually, he wasn't getting taken down. He was looking for takedowns and not getting them and then ending up on bottom. But he did end up in mount a couple times, and I thought he would do better work there, but he just couldn't really find anything with the submissions, couldn't land any ground and pound because Gafurov would just get back up. And Gafurov looked a lot cleaner on the feet, actually landed some pretty nice combinations. So maybe Gafurov's not completely shit, because he did 30-27 Kang, but Kang had his moments. It wasn't like a complete ass whooping. But Gafurov did look a little bit better. He gets his first UFC win. It is what it is, man. I mean, just shave the back and maybe trim up a little bit. You'll be looking better. OV privilege right here. OV privilege. Renat Fakhretdinov. Do you guys think he won that fight? Do you think he won that fight? Because to me, based on that third round, if you look at this judge's scoring criteria, I don't know that he won it. Because what damage did he do in the third round? Not much. Because he would get the takedowns, hold him there for about a minute. Dalby would work his way back up. And then Dalby would reverse position, start to land some shots, and then he might get taken down again. Or he might stuff a takedown, land a knee, land a couple more shots, and then he'd get taken down again. Then hold down for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, rinse and repeat. But I don't think Fakhretdinov really did much to do much damage in that third round. But, considering where this card is geographically in the world, I did consider that the OVs would have some privilege if the fights went to the scorecards. So I kind of saw it coming. I think Fakhretdinov won the first round because he landed that knockdown, and then I think rounds 2 and 3, I think Dalby has a good case just to win based off of the work rate. And I will give Renat some credit here because Dalby is extremely hard to deal with. He's just a guy that's going to continue to work throughout the fight. He's just going to go, 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 go. And it's not like some big explosive stuff where eventually he's going to slow down. It's just real methodical, thought-out movements that don't release too much energy to where he could gas out. He's got a great gas tank. So I will give Renat props because in that third round, he could have easily let that get away from him. But he made a concerted effort to get the takedowns, slow him down, slow down his momentum so he can't build into, more fight finishing sequences. That's what I'm trying to say. So, sure, split decision. I think it could have went either way. I'm salty because Dalby's such a dog, man. I just respect the guy. I respect the way he fights. Just a dog. But either way, Renat gets it done. And we'll see how good he is. I'm still a little skeptical. Don't say the fucking name. This is just disgusting. I look at this picture and I see lost. I lost out on $12,000 right here. I lost out on $12,000. And I can't even blame Felipe Lima because he took this fight on short notice and he came out and looked like an absolute dog. I mean, I think he was up. I should have put the scorecards on here, but I looked at the scorecards and they were all over the place. I think it was 2018 for Lima on one, 2018 for Naimov on one, and then 1919 on one. So they were all over the place. We go into round 3. Naimov, he's known for slowing down, but I thought he would be tough enough to not get finished. And this was, the over 2.5 was my part of the best bets video. And if you watch that back, I said both these guys are super tough. There's probably going to be a lot of grappling. The only way I see this fight ending is probably by submission. But if it does, it probably comes later. Well, it did come later. But it did not come late enough. Lost $12,000 because Naimov couldn't survive. Look at this choke, man. It's not even like he's got his hand on his against his neck, or not his neck, against his head. Like, this is a short choke. This is a palm to palm. Like, did he just gas that bad where he got it in and he's like, yeah, just too tired to fight it, man. Just too tired to fight it. Naimov has never been like that talented to me in the UFC, and he didn't look talented at all in this fight. I look at Lima going up a weight class on short notice, pushing a pace on Naimov, and I knew this guy looked good on film, but I didn't know if he was going to be undersized going up against Naimov, who relies on his physicality. But he was there. He was right there. He was right there on every exchange, getting takedowns, stuffing takedowns, looking good in the clinch, and eventually gets his back and sinks in a rear naked choke. So Felipe Lima is going to be entering a very, very tough division in the bantamweight division. That's super deep. But this kid's got a lot of promise, man. Got a lot of promise. 13-fight win streak. Shout out to him. This one, Jared Gordon and Nasrat Haqparast. I think this is arguable that it could be a robbery. I thought Jared Gordon probably lost the first, but it wasn't by a very large margin. And then I thought Jared Gordon pretty clearly won the second round. Nasrat's starting to slow down. Jared Gordon flips to the betting favorite. Looks like he's got all the momentum. And then in round 3, he continues that momentum. And then then Gordon starts to slow down a little bit. And Nasrat just starts letting off a bunch of combinations that they don't hit that hard, but they just keep touching. He just keeps touching. And Nasrat had a cut right below his cheek for pretty much almost the entire fight. And as the fight progressed, Jared Gordon's face just kept getting more and more swollen. He didn't really have any cuts, but it just kept swelling up. And by the end of the fight, I don't think he could see out of like his left eye. So I guess the judges probably saw that, and that's why they're giving him, why they gave Nasrat the decision. Because I think they gave Nasrat 1 and 3, and then most of the judges gave Gordon round 2. I think all of them did. I mean, I don't know that it's a robbery, but when I watched it, I thought Gordon probably won rounds 2 and 3. But if you're a judge sitting cage side and you can see the swelling on Jared Gordon's face and it looks really, really bad, then I could see, a world where they give Nasrat round 3 because he did land a ton, but it didn't really look like a big thud when he's landing. But those little ones, they start to add up, and that's where the swelling comes in. So, yeah, tough one for Jared Gordon. Fight of the night, though, for me. I mean, these guys were throw in. And once again, these new gloves just don't quite got that pop in them like they used to. Let's move on to a fight where the new gloves did have some pop. Johnny Walker, once again, getting knocked out cold and KO'd stiff as a board in the UFC. I will echo everything that I said on the official picks video. Johnny Walker is not good. He's not a good fighter. He's just a hyped up guy, a fan favorite, because he's 6'6", he's athletic as hell, and he's funny. But other than that, this guy really does not have a very high level of skills. And on top of that, the guy has a terrible chin. So, personally, I love Volkan in this fight. I'm actually pissed I didn't put more on it because, obviously, it looks great now in hindsight. I did have a decent-sized bet on him, but I wish I would have taken more because I saw this was like a perfect fight for Volkan. A guy in Johnny who leaves his chin high, who doesn't have technical boxing whatsoever. He doesn't have any type of ability to use his length. He doesn't stay to the outside, doesn't stick a jab, doesn't have good lateral movement. It's just explosive movements whenever he can. And we literally saw it in the finishing sequence. When Volkan's cracking him, he keeps cracking him with this left hook. And Johnny Walker's rattled. He just jumps in the air, throws a flying knee like a Hail Mary. Like that's his move. It's just throw a flying knee. I'm getting cracked in the chin. I'll just throw a flying knee and maybe something will happen. That's his game plan. Those are his skills. Like Johnny Walker is not good. And Volkan Oezdemir just continued to find the chin over and over and over again because he has actual skill, actual kickboxing skill. It's not sexy, but it's real skill. And he knocks him out in the first round. So, poor Johnny. What are you going to do? Don't have a chin. Never really have. Most of his wins in the UFC. And I'm cooking, Johnny. I'm sorry. I'll stop there. Good win for Volkan, though. He gets back in, he's on a 2-fight winning streak now, I think. Maybe 3? Either way. Let's move on. Shara Bullet, Antonio Trocoli. Shara Bullet still does not look elite to me. That was my biggest takeaway from this one because Trocoli is probably the worst fighter on the roster at this point. Like, this guy hasn't fought in like 3 years. And the last time he got a win against like an opponent that has like a pulse, he was on the steroids. This guy hasn't been training. He hasn't been training at all. Antonio Trocoli is straight ass. And Shara Magomedov, yeah, he knocked him out in round 3. But Shara Magomedov is literally a fucking kick merchant. This guy really, he don't really have hands. Like, I know he knocked them out in round 3 with his hands, but that was after Trocoli was, 1, completely gassed, 2, had taken a bunch of shots, and 3, it's Trocoli, who has never had striking ever in his arsenal. He's literally just a BJJ guy with no wrestling. So he's a punching bag with legs. That's what he is in the cage. And Shara has really nice kicks. I will give him that. And he has good movement. But if he fights a guy that's more well-rounded, a guy that can actually land a takedown, I mean, at least I'll give him that. His takedown defense looked a little bit better, but we also have to remember in round 2, I think it was round 2, Trocoli was in deep on a takedown, and Magomedov completely grabbed the cage to prevent the takedown, and I think it was Mark Goddard. Mark Goddard did nothing about it. Nothing. Like, that was one of the worst fence grabs to prevent a takedown I've seen in a long time. And all Mark Goddard did was give him a warning. No, you need to give him a takedown or take a point, because that changed the entire fight. Trocoli was working for that takedown for a long time, and then he's about to finally get it, and Shara grabs the cage to prevent it, and now all that work has gone to waste, and now he's more tired, and now he's doesn't get the takedown. He's now got to stand and strike with Shara, who's going to be kicking his legs, kicking his body, maybe throwing a right hand down the pipe every once in a while. And Trocoli's a sitting duck on the feet. So, yeah, I don't know. I still don't think Shara's elite. He is fun to watch, and he's a crazy character, but I still need to see more. I mean, it's just his second fight in the UFC, but if he goes up against anybody that's good, like if you threw him against a top 15 guy right now, I'm taking any top 15 guy over Shara Magomedov at this point. 100%. I don't know that he lives up to the hype right now. Oh, this one was frustrating. Kelvin Gastelum, I don't even know what to say, man. Like, yeah, he won the fight. I think he won the fight pretty clear. I thought D-Rod probably won the first, though. I thought D-Rod won the first round, and I thought Kelvin won the second and third. Some of the judges had it 30-27, which is pretty weird to me. But D-Rod just he didn't really have any pop on his shots, and Kelvin would just land a little bit more. Anything that D-Rod threw at Kelvin didn't really look to phase him. And then, of course, Kelvin mixing some takedowns, which looks good, and everything pretty much sealed it up there in round 3. But it really doesn't come down to the fight, man. Like, Kelvin came into this one looking like a tubby little huggy bear, bro. Like, what is he doing? How are you? What does he walk around at? He's supposed to be fighting at 170. He's 5'9". 5'9". You're a professional fighter, a professional athlete. How are you not fueling your body to be the best that it is? I'm 5'11". I weigh 180, between 180 and 185 pounds. How are you 5'9" and you're weighing, I'm guessing he probably weighs around 210, 220? Like, walking around if he can't make 170? What is going on? So he gets the win. We all know, like, we had to move the weight up to 185 when it was supposed to be at 170. That's just ridiculous. To move it up 15 pounds is disgusting. And then after, he's like pretty much pleading for his job. He's like, I know I really love the UFC. I hope to stay in the UFC. I'd love to be here. It's like, bro, did they have like some conversation before this? Or is this the last fight on your contract and you're trying to like get them to re-sign you? If that was the last fight on his contract and this is how he showed up, missed weight by 15 pounds, it don't matter if he went out there and knocked him out in round 1. They should cut his ass, bro. It's just ridiculous, man. Kelvin Gastelum just never had the discipline. This is your professional career. This is your livelihood. this is what it comes down to. This is what really pissed me off. When guys have talent like this, like a Calvin Gastelum, and they just have no work ethic, no discipline, you're throwing all of the gifts that were given to you out the window. You're just disrespecting every single one of them. Like, you need to do your best. You're clearly not doing your best. I could see the little lip on your fucking belly coming out of your shorts, bro. You're 5'9". You should be fighting at 170 pounds. You should be making that easily. It's ridiculous. D-Rod did look old as shit, though, too. And, yeah, he's pretty much washed at this point. I'm not going to lie. He can box with the best of them, but he's no pop. Don't really take the shots as good. Let's move on. Co-main event. So this is one I had a lot of enjoyment watching because, I had the bet on Volkov. I knew a lot of people were taking Sergey, just thinking he was an absolute lock. And I'm like, I don't know, guys. Like, Volkov's never been knocked out in the first round, for one. He's only been knocked out once in his last 24 fights. Like, it's not going to be easy for Pavlovich to just rush in there and huck bombs. And it was very difficult for him to find any type of range. Volkov played this perfectly. And that was part of why I had some kind of confidence in him here. It was like they trained together. He probably knows what he can do to not get hit by this guy. Because you obviously don't want to get hit by Sergey Pavlovich. And Volkov, if you've been sparring with him before, you probably know what his moves are. You probably know how you can stay away from his fists. And he looked beautiful doing it. Like, just stick to the outside. Use your speed for one. Be in and out. Have a nice jab. The jab just destroyed Pavlovich's nose throughout the fight. He was landing some nice body kicks to Pav. Landed a bunch of nice leg kicks. A lot of teep kicks. Like, it was just picture perfect for Alexander Volkov. And I think we got to look at this one like, Volkov's been around forever. He's never fought for a title in the UFC before. I think eventually, man, you got to give this guy a shot. At least give him a number one contenders fight if this wasn't already. I mean, we already have the fucking John Jones, everything here, fucking John Jones versus Stipe, which means nothing for one. And then we got Aspinall versus Blades, which is for the interim title. And then I guess we have to have a number one contenders fight or something. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Volkov looked really good. He deserves every bit of it. He's on a nice little streak here. And Pavlovich is a tough, scary bastard, man. So, props to Volkov. And it was kind of weird to see Pavlovich get pissed at the end of the fight when Volkov went over him after the fight ended and Pavlovich pushed him, which is pretty funny. Because Pavlovich, for how big he is and how scary he is, he's kind of like a teddy bear. If you watch him or if you listen to him talk, kind of like a teddy bear. Smiles a lot, goofs around a lot, got like a nice little personality on Instagram and stuff. But he was pissed, man. He took that loss pretty badly. And we'll see what his future is like. But maybe, there's not a lot of heavyweights that can do what Volkov did. So it's not like Pavlovich has been figured out. Because it's really going to take a special fighter like Volkov to pull that off. But yeah, Pavlovich back-to-back losses, man. Tough for him. Brings us to the main event. Round us off with a nice little Dagestani fraud check. Which is crazy. I just thought about this. I put out the video on my Instagram. The Dagestani fraud checks. Gadzhiyasulov from Dagestan lost to Jairzinho, 5-round main event. Abus Magomedov less than a year ago, lost to Sean Strickland, 5-round main event. Here we get Ikram Aliskerov. Dagestani, 5-round main event. Robert Whittaker gets knocked out round 1. Now, I will say this. Nobody could have predicted this, man. For anybody that said, yeah, I knew Bobby Knuckles was going to knock him out in round 1, you're lying. You're lying. If you thought Bobby Knuckles was going to win this fight, you would have said he probably weathers the storm early, uses his experience to win the fight later, maybe by decision, maybe a late finish. But for him to come out and just chin Ikram like that, I don't think anybody saw that coming. That was the most shocking part for me. And part of that, I think, is due to Ikram's chin. This chin is actually just not good. I don't think... I will say I was completely wrong. I gave Ikram the durability edge because Whittaker had been knocked out by Duplessis, been knocked out by Adesanya, and he hadn't had a knockout since 2017. So I'm thinking, if Ikram's throwing hands, I think his chin should hold up. Whittaker really hasn't shown a ton of power in the last 7 years. And Ikram's got a lot of power. I think you should be able to take Whittaker's punches. Not true, because Ikram, for one, got sporked by Khamzat in a fight where he kind of got dropped before he even got knocked out. And then he was kind of, if you look back in the film with Phil Haas, he was kind of reacting weird to those shots. So I'm starting to think that this guy's a little bit chinny. Like Ikram, I think he's got good skills. But it doesn't really matter how good your skills are if you can't take a punch. So definitely something to keep an eye on there for Ikram. At the end of the day, he's fighting number 3 in the world. So you can't really knock him too much for here. It was obviously a big or very little risk for Ikram to come in here, with a massive reward, and he just couldn't get the reward. Big risk for Whittaker. He passes it with flying colors. KO round 1, and it sounds like he wants to be the backup for Adesanya versus Duplessis, which is interesting. Obviously, it's in Perth, so he'll be around there, and it makes sense. Other than that, I think Strickland versus Whittaker makes a lot of sense, just as a number 1 contenders fight, while Duplessis and Adesanya are going at it. I think that makes sense in the meantime, but if neither of them do fight, who do you give it to next? Who's up there? Very, very weird spot. I think they're eventually just going to have to fight each other for a number 1 contenders fight, because I think you can give it to either of them, but that's kind of beside the recap. Whittaker looked good. Ikram just looks chinny, and I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked that Whittaker knocked him out in round 1. And I thought he could win this one, but I thought he would go through a little bit of adversity. I didn't know that he was going to win this cleanly. Really didn't have to handle any adversity. Just puts him away. So props to Whittaker. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. We'll be back here next week for UFC 303. Early picks coming to you very soon. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Till next time, Hey Job Picks. We out.